Life is full of big moments of change and transformation where we have to pivot on our path.
Those moments come with a wide variety of emotions, from fear and anxiety to joy and relief.
I'm Kelly Koopmans.
And I'm Mary Nam, and this is Hard Turn.
Good to see you, Kelly.
Well, hello. I'm really excited about our guest.
Me too.
I mean,
this is so cool.
I mean, what a chance. Not only to talk to the one and only Rick Rizzs.
That's right.
Who you know over the
That Rick
radio.
Rizzs.
Yes, that Rick Rizzs. But on the heels of this epic Mariners season, not only do we get to debrief all that, but we also get a glimpse to know him much better. Some big things that have happened in his life.
Yep.
And as he will call it, he says it's a success story
A truly
in so many ways.
Very personal, poignant story. And we want to thank Rick for his time and for getting so personal with us. And this is someone that we think we know so well on the surface level, right? Hearing his voice, knowing what he does for his work, the voice of the Mariners. And this is a completely different side to learning about him. So here's our interview with the Rick Rizzs. Rick Rizzs, we are thrilled that you are here with us today. Voice of the Mariners. It's great to see you in person. Normally we listen to you, but we have you in the flesh.
And Mary and Kelly, it's nice to be here, spend some time with you, talk a little baseball, whatever you want to talk about. So it's nice to be here. We wrapped up a heck of a season here in 2025, and I can't wait for spring training.
Okay, how are you doing emotionally after coming off this season? I mean, what a wild ride for everyone, and you are the one who's like telling us over the air what's happening.
Yeah, to be honest with you, not well.
No, we appreciate your honesty. Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Very tough ending. It was a great year, and I don't want that one swing by George Springer in Game 7 of the American League Championship Series to define, what we accomplished as a team, as an organization. Jerry DiPoto, Justin Hollander, Andy McKay, these guys did a super job putting this team together, improving it at the trade deadline. But that swing by George Springer it's still tough because they were just so close to getting you and the fans in the Pacific Northwest to the World Series for the first time in 49 years. That was the tough part. We were 7 outs away, but you know what? That's baseball. They left everything on the field. Cal Raleigh had the historic season. We could talk for hours about this kid. I love this young man, what he did. More home runs than any catcher in history, more home runs than any switch hitter in baseball history, more home runs than any Mariner in history, Ken Griffey Jr. 60 home runs. Catchers don't do that. He had the greatest season in the history of Major League Baseball for a catcher. Julio Rodriguez was tremendous, especially in the second half. The pitching staff, they got through injuries in the early part of the year, and the pitching staff, what they did was absolutely remarkable. Danny Wilson, his first year as a Major League manager, was one of the top 3 managers in the American League. He should have won the award. And Cal should have been the MVP.
Yes.
A little upset about that. But it was really tough to get over. And I guess I'll get over it next spring, when the ball club gets ready, because there's a lot of hope, a lot to look forward to next year. Re-signing Josh Naylor was huge. More kids are on the way. Best pitching staff, I think, in all of baseball. And what they did was nothing short of remarkable this year. It was the greatest season in the history of the franchise on the field. 1995, that team with Dan Wilson, Edgar Martinez, Randy Johnson, Ken Griffey Jr., they saved baseball.
Right.
I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here talking about the Mariners if it wasn't for those guys, what they did when they did and how they did it in 95, down by 13 games with 2 months to play. But this team was really special. In 2001, they won 116 games, but this year was the greatest year on the field, getting to Game 7 of the American League Championship Series. And we have so much to look forward to next year.
Yeah, and what a way, because this was your 40th season with the Mariners. What a way to cap off like a landmark year, too. It's just to have it be the best. Because you really have to have a passion for it. If it's your job and you also love it, but you love the game of baseball. And we like to kind of dig back to people's roots a little bit and know what motivates them. Where did your love of baseball come from? What was that little thing that kind of hooked you?
Ever see the movie Sandlot?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, that's a story.
Which one? Hold on. Which kid in Sandlot are you?
Squints Pelladores. I love that guy. because he feigned drowning and Wendy Peppercorn.
Yes.
That was a great scene. I had it planned for weeks. But anyway, it was a story of my life. As a kid growing up on the south side of Chicago, number one, I had the best of both worlds. I had the Cubs during the day, no lights at Wrigley Field until 1988. I had the White Sox at night. My mother was the biggest Cub fan in the world. She loved Ron Santo, who, by the way, grew up here in Seattle, went to Franklin High School, and Billy Williams and Ernie Banks. So, and then my dad would come home at night. We'd watch the White Sox, or if we couldn't watch them, we'd listen on the radio. But I had that sandlot behind my house. Me and my buddies, just like in the movie, every day on that field. If we broke the bat, it took a screw and screwed it in there, put black electrical tape around it. If the ball had the cowhide come off, and we'd put black electrical tape around it, we'd continue to play. But we also had the dog. Remember in the movie there was Hercules?
Yeah.
Big,
How could we forget?
Dog.
Yeah,
That
slobbery.
stole on the slobbering
Lots
all
of
over the
slobber.
way to go, Kelly Mary. And he would steal all the balls. We had Mo the German Shepherd. And unfortunately, Mo's backyard was near third base. So anytime the ball went into Mo's backyard, it was my job as the smallest, fastest guy on the team, or out with my buddies, jump over the fence, get the ball, throw it back onto the sand lot, jump over the fence, keep playing. I did it every time except once. I get the ball, threw it back on the sand lot, running, jumping over the fence, and Mo bit me right on my rear end.
Got you.
And I got this German Shepherd hanging off my
gosh.
backside. I go, Mo, get off me, get off me. And he finally let go. Thank goodness I had a brand new pair of Levi's on in 1960, whatever it was.
Well, if that's not an advertisement
1962.
for tough jeans, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and it fell over the fence, and thank God I got the ball. We kept playing, and I found out the wondrous healing factors of Bactine. And but anyway, there was a story in my life. So I fell in love with the game of baseball as a kid, and I remember listening to the radio. Jack Brickhouse, was on the air with the Chicago Cubs for many years. Bob Elson on radio for the White Sox. And I remember I wanted to be the next Louis Aparicio. I played in high school, walked on, made the JV team in college at Southern Illinois University. But I wanted to be Louis Aparicio. But a lot of kids find out that they can't hit a slider or, a 90-mile-an-hour fastball like I did, tried to do in college. And but I always listened to the radio, and I go, I want to be that voice coming out of the radio. So I wrote Jack Brickhouse a letter in 1965. I was 12 years old, because I would go downstairs when my mother was watching the game upstairs on a little, small black and white TV set. I'd go downstairs, turn on our big Zenith, and turn on the game, turn down the sound, and pretend I was Jack Brickhouse and do play-by-play. So I wrote him a letter when I was 12 years old. I said, Mr. Brickhouse, I want to be a major league broadcaster just like you. How do I do it? And he wrote me back a letter. What you would tell, it was on WGN, headline, a letter. And I go, oh, man. And he told me what you would tell any 12-year-old kid, try hard, believe in yourself, eat your vegetables. No, I made that up.
Listen to your mom.
Listen to your mom and dad, clean your room. But I had that letter for years. Anyway, went to high school, played in high school, college, major radio and TV, and got a job in the minor leagues. My best friend at the time in college, John Dietrich, hired me. I was the clubhouse boy, clubhouse manager, and I did 3 innings of play-by-play in 1975 in Alexandria, Louisiana, with the Padres AA Farm Club. And that was my first year of 8 years in the minor leagues.
Wow.
But anyway, I went through the minor leagues, and Dave Niehaus liked my tape after you sent out a resume and tape like you guys do too, in any business. And the Mariners, Dave Niehaus got me here in 1983. So we go to spring training, and we're playing the Cubs. And Mr. Brickhouse happened to be at the ballpark in Scottsdale, but he was retired for a couple of years. Harry Carey and Milo Hamilton were doing the games on radio. And Dave goes, there's your hero. Go talk to him. Go talk. I go, no, he's signing autographs. I don't play. But eventually he came up to the booth. And Dave goes, talk to your hero. So I went up to Jack Brickhouse, Mr. Brickhouse. I said, Mr. Brickhouse, this is 1983 now. I'm 29 now. And I said, Mr. Brickhouse, you don't remember this, but I wrote you a letter when I was 12 years old, and I want to thank you for writing me that letter. He says, oh, what are you doing? And I said, because of you, I'm the new announcer for the Seattle Mariners. I'm going to do today's game between the Mariners and the Chicago Cubs here at spring training. He said, really? I wrote you a letter? And he gave me a big hug. So that's where my love of baseball came from, playing in the sandlot all those years. My mother was a huge baseball fan. Of course, my dad was too. My brother played, in Little League as well. So growing up on the south side of Chicago, like I said, I had the best of both worlds, the Cubs and the White Sox.
We love learning about the backstory of our guests. And often, such as yourself, we know so well one side. And with you, Rick, it's the voice of the Mariners. It's you and the Mariners. It's listening to you and listening to games.
Yeah.
And we love learning more about, the person behind the job often. We know that for many, many years, you were a single father.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hard work happening behind the scenes, raising a child while also fronting this very demanding job.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what that was like and tell us about Nick?
Yeah. Well, you got some clinics here. It was tough. I had the greatest son in the world. Nick was born in 1980, and when I was in Memphis with Expos AA Farm Club. And, went to Columbus, Ohio, then for 2 years. Got the job in Seattle in 1983. I was divorced in 84, and I was able to get my son. I was able to raise my son. And that was one of the greatest days in the world when I got him, opening day of 1984, 85. And, you just love your kid like crazy, as you guys do and everybody does. But sometimes they get involved with bad people and do bad things. And he did it around the age of 15. Wasn't hanging out with the right people. And I could see this happening, and I tried my best. Hey, this guy is not good, but, and he got involved in drugs. And it got worse and worse and worse down through the years. And he was a serious drug addict for 22 years. And, man, there were many days where it was hard going to the ballpark. As a matter of fact, I was at the ballpark one day. This is when he was doing, cocaine and heroin. He went to meth and everything. And I didn't know if he was alive, where he was. And I had to go to the ballpark. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mariners Baseball. And one day, Randy Adamek, my boss at the time, came in and said, Rick, you got to go. I said, what's the matter? My son tried to commit suicide. And he was purchasing drugs out in wherever he was. And the cops had come, the police, and he thought they were after him because he had failed some drug tests and things like that. If you don't fail your P test, then you wind up in jail. And I had to get him out. This happened 3 or 4 times. He said, I don't want to go back to jail. And he tried to, cut his neck open, before the cops could get to him. And he tried. And they took him to Harborview. And that's when Randy came in and said, Nick's over in Harborview. So I left and went to where he was, and I just missed the ambulance leaving because I wanted to get there before to see him. And so then I ended up going to Harborview, and I was able to spend the night with him. But he was very lucky. The good Lord was watching over him. He just missed his carotid artery where he cut his neck. And so he was in the ICU. They operated on his neck for like a couple hours. But he came through that. And when he finally got out of the hospital, I said, son, I said, I'm done. I said, 22 years. I said, you've hit rock bottom. The bad news is you wasted 22 years of your life, and I never stopped loving him. Always believed that he could turn things around.
Please take your time.
And he did. I said, the bad news is you wasted 22 years of your life. The good news, you don't have to waste the next 50. So I know, Dad, I know. So he needed to go to rehab. But before he went to rehab, I got the greatest church in the world, Eastside Christian, Eastside Church in Issaquah, East Ridge. Oh, my gosh. Let me get that right. Yeah. East Ridge Church.
Let the record reflect.
Yeah. East Ridge Church on the plateau in Issaquah where I live. Pastor Steve Jameson, his wife Cheryl, and son Josh is now the lead pastor. And I tried to get him to church. And a few times that I did, he just didn't, of course, pay attention and very seldom went. Tried to get him. And then one day on his own, he just went to church. One day on his own. He did all by himself. And he accepted Jesus as his personal Lord and Savior. And from that point on, his life was did a 180.
Wow.
180. The drugs were gone. The smoking was gone. The anger was gone. Everything was gone. Then he went to rehab. And if it wasn't for, Nick going to church and accepting Jesus as his personal Lord and Savior, which I hope happens to a lot of people in that situation, he would have never turned his life around. Went to rehab, stayed longer than he was supposed to. He was helping out some other guys, in there. I asked the counselor, is it okay if he stays longer? He says, your son is doing great.
Wow.
So from that point on, the drugs were gone, everything, the anger, like I said, and he was the greatest son in the world for 9 years. And thank God my next-door neighbor was a plumber. And Nick was this big, strong, handsome kid, and he could lift a water heater all by himself, which he did. And he said, hey, Nick, I need some help putting in a water heater. So he went to work with him one day and helped him put in a water heater. He says, hey, I got a few more jobs, will you help me? So he continued to do some water heater jobs for him. And then he said, how would you like a job? And so he taught him to be a plumber.
Wow.
He was the greatest plumber in the world for 9 years. He loved it. He did great. He got him to the point where he would go off and do jobs on his own. I bought him a box truck. He put all his tools in there. He'd come by at 7 o'clock in the morning at my house, make him breakfast, and he'd go to work with my next-door neighbor. And he really turned his life around. But he was a champion. This is a triumphant story. It's hard talking about it, but I want to let people know that, this happens to a lot of folks. Drug addiction is one of the worst problems that we have in our country, but he was able to overcome it, by accepting Jesus as his personal Lord and Savior. He was sending Bible passages to 43 different people every day, and he lived his life as a Christian, and for 9 years he was the greatest son in the world. He'd make me laugh. He had this sense of humor that could light up a room and everything, and he was just unbelievable. We had so much fun for 9 years. But one day, 2 years ago, he just had a bad night, and he went out, and every time he'd go to a bar, that's when he bought his drugs, when he was a drug addict. And this time there was a reason he went to a bar looking for someone, and he did a little bit of cocaine, and I thought there was fentanyl in it, and he had a heart attack and he passed away. We found him in his house. So it was really difficult because, man, he was on his way and he helped so many people, and I'm so proud of my son for what he did. And I don't know if I could have done it, but what he did was turned his life around and many other lives. You wouldn't believe how many people come up to me and say, hey, I knew your son, in high school, and I knew your son, and I want to thank him for helping save my life too. And he got into the best friends in the world. He was an outdoor guy. He was on top of the mountain with snowmobiling for years.
When he became sober?
Yeah, when he became sober. He bought a jet ski. He had 3 jet skis. He had 3 motorcycles. He had a snowmobile, and he's out with the greatest guys in the world, doing what he loved to do, being outdoors. And man, I miss him like crazy. But
I think one thing for a lot of parents out there, and you can reflect on this too, you think, you're having a kid's like your heart walking around the world, and that's a scary thing. And I think for 20 of those years, the uncertainty, you mentioned in an interview you didn't sleep soundly for 20 years.
Not for 20 years.
What gets you through that? How do you learn to adjust to that and still not just survive, but also you have a full-time demanding job too?
Yeah.
It sounds like faith was part of that equation.
Faith was all of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Faith was a huge part of it. But then I had Dave Niehaus, and I had his family. I had the greatest bosses in the world, with Randy Adamak and the people with the Mariners, Chuck Armstrong, Kevin Kremen, who's my brother from another mom. I'm his daughter's godfather. Then Kevin Martinez and now Greg Green. They're my family. They got me through it. And the greatest friends in the world that I have, I got a list this long of the people who I love and who love Nick. And like my next door neighbor who gave him a job and everything, got him back, on the right track. So my faith in God, you just don't give up on your kids, no matter how horrible it is, and you just know it's not him. There's something inside him that You know, it's very, very tough to get away from drugs and the wrong people. But eventually he did it. This is a success story. And I want people to understand that. Mike Gastineau this past year wrote an amazing story. We talked for 2 hours before I left for spring training. Then he came down to spring training. We talked for 2 hours about this. And I just want people to know that if you're going through this, never stop loving your kids. And make sure they get away from the bad kids and get them with the good kids, even if as hard as that is. But you got a lot of people who love you. You got a lot of people who's going to love your kid, and they can get through it. But with the faith of God, asking Jesus to be his personal Lord and Savior, that's why it happened.
Rick, I have to ask you, and this is a two-part question. When you look back at Nick's life and his childhood, it sounds like you really believe it was this wrong group of kids in high school. It sounds like it was high school that put him on this path.
Right.
Can you expand on that just a little bit more? And then the second part of this question is, I know that there are going to be a lot of other parents listening who can relate to your pain and your story, and they're in the throes of it right now. Maybe for them it's year 2, maybe for them it's year 20.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that daily heartache of knowing that he's out there, knowing that you love him so much, and knowing you want the best for him, but not being able to pull him in because he is an adult now.
Yeah.
He is a grown man.
Yeah.
Making his own choices.
No, that's true. I mean, he's out there on his own, and when he leaves the house, I don't have any control over that. I try my best to tell him, you need to stay away from this guy, stay away from that guy. I mean, he was with some really bad people who I didn't like very much, and one guy even threatened me, you know, but I didn't care about that. I just want him to stay away from my son, you know. But you just keep having faith. It takes hopefully a lot less than 22 years than it did for me, but you just try the best to hug them when things are bad, you know, and let them know that, you know, there's a path to getting better, and this is what you have to do. But I could talk, and I did, till I was blue in the face for 22 years, but they have to realize it. The healing doesn't stop until they realize they hit rock bottom sometimes, and man, he hit rock bottom. That's when he said, Dad, you know, I need some help. He wrote me, when he was in rehab, he wrote me this greatest letter in the world apologizing to me, you know, for what he did and what he put me through. And as celebration of life, I read that letter, and it was just, you know, it was really difficult to read that letter, but I still have it. And knowing that he did it, you know, I wanted him to do it 22 years earlier, you know, and it didn't happen, but he did it. And I'm telling parents that, you know, let your kids, you know, find their path, and let your kids, hopefully they decide to change their lives and get better. And because it's difficult, you got to live your life too. Yeah. You know, and I got to go to the ballpark, but like I said, I have Dave Niehaus there, and Kevin Kremen and Chuck Armstrong and Randy Adamick and all my guys, and the players too. You know, they knew too. Dave Henderson, you know, Dave Henderson was like Nick's uncle. Nick would listen to Hendu more than he would me, and he would lay down the law, and sometimes, you know, and he would listen to David. And but my advice is to people, never give up on your kids, man. Keep loving them until and get them to church, man. There's something else out there. There's a lot more than just this. You know, I've been so blessed in my life, you know, playing baseball as a kid, making baseball as a career, and you guys do a wonderful job on television and on radio, and but there's more to it. And if they realize that there's something more out there, I think that's when they go, okay, maybe there is, and I got to change my life, and Nick did. Yeah,
and it sounds like Nick is a current part that inspires you to this day, and you do so much work for kids here locally, and I know that's a big push right now. Everyone might be thinking, like me, the season's over, you know, Rick's kicking up his heels, he's going to chill a little bit, but that's when your next season really kicks in, because you've got Rick's Locker, you got toys for kids, and I mean, this is primo season right now.
Right, yeah, because we just had our gala on November the 8th, Kelly and Mary, where we raised $1 million.
Incredible.
And we started 30 years ago with 12 guys. Dave Henderson and myself started it. We sat in Pioneer Square, McCoy's Firehouse, having a beer, and I saw on TV a report about the homeless situation. There were 8,316 that they could count. I asked Hendu, I said, how many kids are there? So he said, I don't know. So we rounded up the guys, Edgar Martinez and Dan Wilson and Jay Buhner and Johnny Moses and John Olerud and Julio Cruz and Matty Sinatro and Paulie Sorrento. And I'm missing a few guys here, I know. But 12 of us got together. Oh, Dave Valley, Raul Ibanez. And
we know those names.
Yeah. We went to Pagacha Restaurant in Issaquah, sat in the back room, had a little dinner, and said, guys, write checks. This is September. I said Christmas was right around the corner. And we wrote our checks, and I had $18,000 worth of checks from Jay Buhner and everybody, and the wives were there too. And so I went looking for these kids, and I went to my bank, Bank of America, and I said, I want to open up an account, start a charity, so I want a separate account. And she goes, we need a name on your account. What do you want to name your charity? I said, well, we don't have a name. I just got the checks last night. She says, what are you going to do with the money? I said, we're going to buy toys for kids. She goes, how about that?
There you go.
That's how you got the name?
Bank teller, named our charity.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for 3-4 years, we did this on our own. We bought toys for 300 kids our first year with 3 different agencies that I found, and now it's 37 different agencies, 20,000 kids, and $1 million. So now this is our busy time. We just had the gala, and now we're buying the toys for all the different homeless agencies that we work with. We're going to have the parties with them, a couple parties with them. J.P. Crawford is just amazing, helping us out, and Cal Raleigh and the other players. So that's how it all got started. So that keeps me busy for a long time. On the road, I'm making phone calls to see if I can get a basket from Lucky You in Gilman Village, or a $20,000 sponsorship from my buddies, or $50,000. And so it's been so rewarding, especially when we have these parties with the kids, to get a glove or get a gift, and they remember that. And we go to the Broadview Women's Shelter. We give each mom there a $100 bill. It's like we gave them $1 million. And so it's just so rewarding. So we're going to keep doing it. No matter how long I'm here, we're going to keep doing it and growing. And it's because it's been a lot of fun, and we're blessed.
Before we let you go, I would usually save this for the wrap up that I would do with Mary. But while I have you here, you talk about, those things that you heard when you were a kid. I remember sitting in the back seat of my dad's car after the Mariners games and listening to the post-game show, and it kind of lulling me to sleep as we drove, back over I-90 over toward Bellevue.
Sorry to put you to sleep.
I know, but as a kid, for me, it was the most comforting thing. And when I think back to being a kid and feeling totally comforted, you had a night out at the ballpark with your family, and now you're cozy in the back seat listening to the post-game show, and that was always so special.
Yeah, I worked with the greatest announcer in the world, Dave Niehaus. He was such a great storyteller, and there were times where I would be sitting next to him for 25 years and just listening to him do the play-by-play like I did when I was a kid listening to Jack Brickett. I go, wait, I got a job to do. I got to talk about what's going on here. I go, dang, he's really good. And I just love that guy. So it was the same way with me. Listening to the radio, it took me to another place, and I could picture Wrigley Field in my mind. I could picture Comiskey Park in the south side of Chicago in my mind. And I tell kids this, and I tell people, if we're doing our jobs right, like Dave Niehaus did, we can see the game right here, and I'm pointing my forehead. We can see the game on the radio. And if Vince Scully, name a broadcaster, Dave Niehaus, Ernie Harwell, all the great announcers made you feel like you were at the ballpark. And if I can make kids and people feel like they're at T-Mobile Park or Fenway Park in Boston or Yankee Stadium, and then we're doing our job. But there's just something about listening to the game on a radio, on the radio broadcast, to make you feel like you're there and forget about your problems or whatever's in your life, going on in your life that day or that year or whatever, that we could be a nice distraction in people's lives. And I think we were this year.
This year was magical. I mean,
it was
we don't need to
magical.
say that. That was just a given, But before, why don't we wrap this full circle, Rick? And
I got
then
another
I'd like to
2
ask
hours,
you,
so I can stick around for...
right.
Another couple hours with
Let's say that there is a 12-year-old listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Sure.
you know, thinking about you at 12 writing your letter, you know, what advice do you have for any young listeners
Yeah.
who are thinking, you know what,
Yeah.
I want to do this. This
Yeah.
is the path I want to go down.
Yeah.
In this day and age we live in, what advice would you give
Yeah.
to
That's a great
future
question.
sports broadcasters?
Yeah, you know, when I was 12, I knew what I wanted to do, and I've been living my dream for 50 plus years. You know, 8 years in the minor leagues, 43 in the big leagues, 40 with the Mariners, and so I've been really blessed. So I tell kids, find out what you're good at, find out what you're passionate about, whether it's broadcasting baseball or playing baseball or being a newscaster on television or an artist or a writer, a doctor, lawyer, whatever. Find out what you're good at, what you enjoy. Make a career out of it. That's what my dad told me when I was 10 years old. He said, I don't care what you do, Ricky, you know, when you grow up, as long as when you wake up in the morning, you don't mind going to work. And so 50 plus years, I love going to work.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I tell kids. Not everybody's going to be Ken Griffey Jr. It just doesn't happen. Or a Cal Raleigh.
Sure.
You know, the odds are against you. You know, there's only 760 players that put on a big league uniform every day. But if you work hard enough and believe in yourself that you could do it, you can do it. When I started, there were only 24 teams. And I didn't know that there's only 2 radio announcers. That's 48 jobs in the whole world, you know. But I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I believed in myself. You know, I believed that there were other people that believed in me, and you just keep sending out the resumes and don't worry about failing. You know, learn from each and every step that you go through. In baseball, Edgar Martinez made 7 outs out of every 10 at bats, and he's in the Hall of Fame. You know, so don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid about the no's, turn the no's into yeses or whatever. Just constantly believe in yourself. But find out what you're good at, what you love to do, like you two are so great at, and make a career out of it. That's what I tell kids.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. This
Thank
was
you.
fun. You're welcome, Kelly. You're welcome, Mary. Great to see you guys.
Well, that was an arc. We got
I couldn't think of the word, Kelly. That's a great
There we
description.
go.
That was one heck of an arc.
Yeah, we got a lot in there. We got not only a whole bunch about the Mariners,
Sure.
and how he thinks, yes, we can run it back.
And I appreciate him talking about the pain and not just glossing over how bad that hurt.
Right, exactly. Yes,
With
because
the-
I
yeah,
mean that's
yeah.
how we all
It's-
feel,
yeah.
right? Mariners fans, right?
A lot of us still feel, yeah.
But then to hear, you know, so much more. It's just a reminder that you never know what's going on in someone's personal life.
Truly.
Hearing his voice at all those Mariners games, all those years, for 20 years, and knowing that he had this, you know, this internal strife, and
Yeah.
his son Nick was really going through it for 20 of those years. And it's, I think, as much as it's a story of success for those 9 years that Nick was able to be sober and reclaim some of that time, it's also a story about a father's love.
Oh, my goodness.
For his son.
Yeah, a father's love, a father's pain. And he talks about how those were the best 9 years of his life. And he doesn't take it for granted. You know, obviously, he wishes it could have been a lot longer. But I think how much effort it took for Nick to hit that rock bottom and then to say, I want to change, I need help, I want to get better. It had been, for years, impossible, you know, because of the disease, the addiction, and the drugs. I'm just still thinking about the moment when he talks about how he got that call from the hospital as he's at work
At work, yeah.
and had to rush to his son's side. And yeah.
And I think that, you know, as sad, it is very sad that Nick doesn't come out of this for having more of those 9 years. I think it is a story that so many people can relate to, because the story isn't always what you hope. That, you know, someone can struggle and then get better and just stay better.
Yeah.
It just goes to show how difficult addiction is, and that it can have a lot of different outcomes for so many people. But I hope that if anything in there, people heard that there are lots of different ways for parents to navigate it. There are people out there who've gone through several things like this, and it sounds like community. It was community for Nick finding friends while he was sober, and it was community for Rick not only while his son was going through the throes of addiction, but also after his passing, and rallying together to help so many other kids here locally.
Absolutely. And Rick talks about how he knows that he is far from alone, that there are millions of people around the world that really understand this kind of pain on a very personal level. And it's to know that you're not alone. That's a big part of it.
Yeah. And what just a nice guy. Nick is,
nice.
Rick was so nice, and when he first walked in and gave us big hugs, and I love that he's rocking the Mariners jacket. You can tell he loves the game.
Yes, absolutely.
You would have to.
Lives, breathes, eats, knows all the players, past players, the ones up and coming. I mean, that was before we actually started recording, but some inside baseball.
Yeah.
Is that a cheesy pun?
Yeah.
To use?
It is actually very well placed and accurate in all the literal ways.
And Rick was very adamant. These are the things that he wanted to talk about. These are the things that are really important to him. Nick, their battle, him overcoming it, the 9 beautiful years together, the nonprofit that he founded with Dave Henderson, focusing on, homeless families and kids, especially this time of year. All of these are so important to him.
The countless scholarships he's handed out over the years. It's amazing stuff. So we just really want to thank Rick for giving us so much of his time today. And you know what? I think he'd be okay with us ending with a Go Mariners. I think he might be okay with that.
He might be mad if we didn't end with a
That's
Go
right.
Mariners. So Rick, thank you so much, and Go Mariners.
That's right. Go Ems.